Game Demo!
Hey everyone, and welcome to our daily demo. I am joined by Aram from Atlas. Again, you're here to show us another game.
I actually sleep in the back. You guys gave me a sleeping bag, so I never left.
But we're very excited to have you here.
Thank you.
You're here to show us a very beautiful game, Trine 2.
Yes.
The follow-up to the first Trine.
That's right. This time on XBLA, PSN, and PC.
Ooh, all the platforms. Now, so let's just jump in here and take a look, because it looks nice, and I think people want to see it.
Absolutely.
And you can kind of talk about the game as you go.
So, for anyone who didn't play Trine 1, Trine, the game takes place in a fantasy world, beautiful storybook world come to life, and these three characters, Amadeus the wizard, Pontius the knight, and Zoya the thief. Now, Amadeus and Zoya and Pontius all play differently. And this is just the tutorial sections for the three characters, but one of the things you'll notice the moment you get into Trine is that the game is built around their weaknesses and their strengths and how they ultimately come together. The original Trine was a physics-based, puzzle-filled, three-player cooperative platform where you could play it with up to 2 other friends locally. And you can see here, for example, the wizard has the ability to manipulate objects. I just cleared the way by moving that folder. So the wizard can move objects. The wizard can also create objects. For example, a cube there, he can manipulate objects in the environment to maybe get objects down. At this point in the game, he can only create an object at a time, so we'll drop another box here and we can progress. And these green vials that we're picking up are experience vials. At some point, we will level up, and when we do so, we will be able to add new abilities to our character. So here, simple physics-based puzzle. Let's get this experience file by using our ability to manipulate the mushroom. So that's Amadeus in a nutshell. He is not an offensive character at all. In fact, he's useless in a fight. He has to depend on Zoya's bow and arrow and Pontius's sword and shield. And that's really where, when you get 2 other friends in the room and you're playing together, is where the magic really comes.
So if you've played the first one, then would all of it be kind of familiar? Is it more or less the same in terms of gameplay?
Yes. So the general principles to the game, the mechanics are as they were in the first one. You have the classes play similarly, although they do have new abilities, and the thief and the wizard now have new abilities. Excuse me, the wizard and the knight have new abilities you can get as you progress. But what's really the big new feature in Trine 2 that we're super excited about is the addition of 3-player online co-op. So it was local before.
Anyone, anywhere.
Absolutely. So here we're now going to go through Pontius's level, and I just want to pause to point out the beautiful lighting. There's all sorts of great volume to it and HDR going on. So visually, Trine 2 is much improved over its predecessor.
And the first one also looked great. Now, how about the story? What's the story like?
Right, so in the first game, Zoya, Pontius, and Amadeus are kind of pulled together against their will, and they spend a lot of the game trying to break away from each other. They're pulled together here at the beginning of this game with the power of the Trine because trees have come to life and are threatening the land. And it has a very different feel between the interplay of the characters in this one versus the first one. There's a lot more dialogue. The developers in Finland, Frozenbyte, brought on a new writer to help bring even more narrative thrust to the game. And so you have more banter between the 3 characters. You have them making more observations about the environment that they're in. And it comes together to make a much more cinematic, much more storybook experience. And I think that kind of complements the game's visual aesthetic very nicely, to have the dialogue and the music and all that stuff come together so well.
Yeah, the art's amazing. You can kind of just look at it. It's like a big painting as you go through.
Right. And so here we have the Trine visiting first Amadeus and now Pontius, bringing them together to meet up with Zoya, and ultimately, we'll jump into Zoya's game.
Okay.
So here we are, and this is Zoya the thief. She is the most agile of the 3 characters, and clearly I am not the most agile of the demonstrators. So she has the bow and arrow, and you use that. It's very intuitive with the right analog. And she has limited offensive ability. Obviously, Pontius the knight is who we want to go with. That thing really launched.
Meat shield. Yeah.
She also has a grappling hook you can see there, and that kind of really is where the physics becomes a lot of fun. There's all sorts of places you can get if you become skilled with the grappling hook that you couldn't otherwise. But you know what? We've done the tutorials now. Let's jump into a game and get you behind a controller.
All right, so let's skip ahead onto the first level.
Sure.
All right, so now I've jumped in with you as Pontius.
Yes, you are the knight and I am the wizard, and we're going to come across one of my favorite new kinds of puzzles that you'll find in Trine 2. So Trine was always about physics-based puzzles and working with your friends to solve things. So here we have an issue. We can't advance to that cliff that's above us to the right. But here, whoa, look at that. We just tipped this over with the weight of Amadeus, and the water has brought that plant to life. Cool,
there we
right?
go.
But it gets better. So let's do this. We can use the wizard's power to manipulate this log and bring the water down the other way. One of those two plans comes to life as well, but there's a third one, and we can't get all the experience unless we find a way to get there. So how about we grab this leaf here, and we can actually splash some water onto
Slingshot me
last, and then look at that. How cool is that? So one of the things you want to look for in the world of Trine 2 are things in your environment that you can use to progress and advance. So let's go ahead and move on a little bit.
Okay.
We won't pick up all the experience here. Nicely done. I'll point out the beautiful light and rainbow in the background.
It's gorgeous.
Follow me. So break through with your sword there. Nicely done. Now careful, careful. The wizard has the ability to make planks. I didn't really set that particularly well.
Whoa, whoa. You can actually
It's going to fall on the spikes.
Okay.
We can also jump, of course. And here's another situation. There's a couple solutions to this. So you could swing your sword.
It looks like a big ball of yarn.
Just try swinging your sword, and we fall through, and the rock gets us through the last level. Now press triangle, and you can switch to your hammer, something you get later in the game. No, don't hit me. That is uncalled for abuse. Try breaking through that stone wall.
Okay.
So, just watching 2 or 3 people play together, and again, I have to stress that new to Trine 2 is the ability to do 3-player co-op with your friends online. And of course, you can also do it locally as well. But once you watch 2 or 3 people play together, you realize that the differences in the classes really comes together. So let me be Pontius for a second. I'm gonna switch to. I'll switch to Pontius, and we'll see if we can get a bad guy out here. Back up a bit. I think there's a goblin here that's going to lunge at us. And I want to show one of the new moves. So kind of obscured by the plant, but Pontius has a new move where he can use his shield to catch the enemy as they lunge and then kind of take no damage and then strike right at them. So there's a lot of little new stuff for the fans of the first game, but overall, new levels, incredible new puzzles that kind of take advantage of some of the new abilities the characters have, and the same 3-player puzzle-based, physics-based, cooperative gameplay that platformers love.
Oh, very exciting. So now when is the game coming out and what platform?
It will come out on PS3, on 360, on PSN and XBLA, and on PC, and we're looking about roughly Q2 of 2011.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
And that was our look at Trine 2. Now on with the rest of the show.